Hi there, and welcome to the Havel channel, where our guest right now is the Georgian human rights lawyer and feminist activist Babutsa Pataraya. Babutsa, you were one of the finalists for this year's Václav Havel Human Rights Award, Human Rights Prize. What did it mean for you to get on that shortlist?
It was like really great honor, especially taking into account that I was the only one who was able to attend. Like other finalists were either in hiding or in prison. So, but I'm happy that this kind of prize exists, because I think that human rights defenders have really tough life and tough job to do. And it's so important to prize them time after time. And I think that it's a big acknowledgement of what also I do. And this is significant.
And is Václav Havel known much in Georgia, or are you much aware of Havel and his legacy?
Yes, actually Václav Havel is pretty known in Georgia. And I think that he's like one of the best politicians is a role model, especially among human rights defenders, because like politicians could be great, but not all of them really respect human rights.
And you, as I was saying, are a human rights lawyer. What led you first to law and then to that area of law?
Actually, it was quite by accident. I graduated when it was like late 90s, and it was like no electricity, no gas, no water, like nothing. And like my parents really advised me to have a like more practical profession. So this is how I end up in law, and I was studying international law. And then also by accident somehow I was admitted at Central European University, by then it was in Budapest, Hungary, to the human rights program. And when I learned it, I actually found what I was interested in, because I thought, I discovered how law could be actually used for the profit of individuals and people.
And your parents weren't disappointed that you didn't go into the kind of big money area of law. Instead, you went towards helping others.
Yeah, you know, I used to work for government as well, at Ministry of Justice. I had a very nice career. Everyone was happy. And then I switched and I started this really human rights, and I became an activist. Being in the streets, on the demonstrations, they were not happy with that because it was too much of like attention, and also like everything, you know, that comes with it. So, and they thought that it's not very appropriate for a girl.
You were too visible. You were very visible.
Yes, too much criticism would come. And also I used to protect also like women's rights and LGBT rights as well. So it was not also very popular and so on. In the beginning, they really were not happy with that. They even resisted. But now I can say that they are one of my biggest supporters.
Is it the case that you also work with victims of domestic violence?
Absolutely.
And what kind of cases are you typically dealing with?
All kinds of cases, very heavy cases, starting from femicides, when women are killed, and then we communicate with their family members to take the cases to the courts and sometimes to the Strasbourg court in order to bring cases at least there. And ending with like instances of, for example, sexual harassment, which is like administrative offense, but it's very important. And also, like I myself are involved very much in advocacy and lobbying for changing the policies and laws as well, because like only helping to certain individuals is never enough.
Maybe this is a strange question, but is there anything specific to the kind of domestic violence you see in Georgia, or to the way that it's perceived by the society in your country?
I think that unfortunately domestic violence is a problem of each and every country, and femicide is a problem unfortunately everywhere, and everywhere this rests on the gender discrimination mentality, that men do not see women as equal, and they believe that they can violate women in all of its forms. And this is something very unique. But some have just developed better policies and practices, and also like mentality of majority might be a little bit better in Western countries compared to like other parts of the world. But unfortunately, this is massive problem everywhere.
In your time working in that field, have you seen any improvement at all?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. The other day I was comparing some statistics about the like opinions, how it changes, and I'm in the field for quite a long, and when you compare like how the mentality has changed during last 10 years, you see a very serious improvement regarding the gender roles of women, how they should be employed, what's their place at home, etc., etc. So I believe that actually doing work does not go without results, and these results are really visible.
Well, that's fantastic. Hats off to you and your colleagues. You co-founded the Independent Group of Feminists. What was the response to this organization when you set it up from the broader society?
Like nobody has ever seen feminists alive, like Georgian feminists. And it was a surprise. It was a taboo. And there was definitely backlash. They tried to ridicule us. They tried to not take us seriously. It was very difficult to get on media, or you were only invited in circus, some kind of crazy shows, and this was the only media which was offered to us. So it was like a tough job starting from 2012 until now. But now a lot of women and girls claim to be feminists, and nobody laughs at it anymore.
In the earlier days, when you were one of the few visible faces of feminism, did you get a lot of abuse or hate or threats or anything like that?
This hate speech and discriminatory speech comes a lot via social media, because this is really under-regulated. This is somehow considered free speech and freedom of expression. So a lot, and also, you know, people, even real people, they think that if you write it online, it's fine. They would never ever dare to say the kind of words to me. I've met them personally, and they were so polite, and even they acted like fans, really seriously. But somehow in this cyber world makes everyone a little bit crazy. And now, especially for last several years, these trolls and bots, which are like governed by different groups, like pro-Russian groups, governmental groups in our case as well, that's a completely different challenge, because they try to create atmospheres that hate is okay and that some people are hated, which is falsification of a reality. It actually does not exist. It's like trolls who create this atmosphere, and not everyone understands how manipulated and artificial this hatred is.
Earlier you were saying that any conversation about gender must also include conversation about men. What exactly did you mean by that?
We always try to help women, but we have to deal with root causes. I mean, if we want to help women, we have to work with men. And men have to work with men. I don't think that I myself should be like educating men. I have a lot of other things to do. But manhood is formed by beliefs and understanding of men themselves. And if they think that, and if they say that manhood is being aggressive, is being abusive, that strength and aggression are similar, and that caring is shameful for men, then we all suffer. So when I say that, like the world, when talking about gender, should think about men, it's men who have to take responsibility to educate and work with other men to somehow bring healthy masculinity in this world.
You're also the director of the group Sapari, which is a women's rights NGO. What does the name Sapari mean, and what do you do?
Sapari means something like a cover, like shelter, where you can cover yourself. And it was created in 2001, and it had one of the very first shelters. But now we are very strong at litigation nationally and internationally, and we do a lot of educations, training, and awareness-raising campaigns.
If I can speak more broadly for a few minutes, there's a perception that Georgia is in some ways going the same way as Russia at the moment. For example, you have a bill on foreign agents. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your country is headed in that direction?
Actually, this escalated really fast. And all of these crazy things are going for the last 2 years. Of course, we saw that authoritarianism was something that our Russian oligarch Bidzina Ivanishvili always wanted. But he actually starting being very aggressive towards independent media and non-governmental organizations after the Russian-Ukrainian war. So it's too much, like the tempo is very high. But I think that people are very different, and also taking into account that, like in Russia, a lot of people actually registered as foreign agents themselves. In Georgia, none of the organizations and human rights defenders who are really known have registered, because we have different attitude and we have learned on the lessons of Russia. On 26th of October, now we're having elections, and we really hope for these elections, and we will try, and I'm sure that we will be able to once again change the government peacefully.
But I'm also curious what the liberal side of Georgian society has done in response to this illiberal push from the current governing party.
Actually, I think that especially civil society has done like marvelous job, and the independent media have done marvelous job explaining to people why this is so dangerous, that all these laws are about losing democracy and changing Georgia's foreign trajectory from EU to Russia. And if you are well enough in explaining the importance of the events which are going on, this is the key, because in this post-truth era and the era of propaganda, it has become very challenging for ordinary people to identify and feel where the truth is. And I think that this is our job to really point about the real problems of the society and to help them to digest the propaganda and still remain value-oriented and democracy-oriented. And I think that we're doing a good job.
You've been doing this kind of activity for a long time now. What motivates you to continue to keep fighting and keep advocating?
I know that I'm on a right side of history, and I am principally right, and I do what I believe in, and the values that I have are actually, from the philosophical point of view as well, like right. So, and I know that I'm fighting on the side of good, and it really gives me the strength to continue.
But do you ever despair? Do you ever think I could just go somewhere else and have an easier life and just, get on the plane and get out of this place?
Yes, but I know that I will be bored very soon. So this like boring life is not for me.
Well, may you have many more successes. Thank you very much for the interview. Thank you for watching this interview with Babutsa Pattaraya. Thank you.